Thank you, Doug. Thanks, everyone. As you're coming back in, a bit of a social exercise, actually, watching where you go for your seating. I love how people, I did say to Grant, no one will sit in this block. I think people will sit in this block and that block, but how wrong I was. But it's so great to have you back after the break. Hope you've had a lovely chance to enjoy morning tea and you're well fed. For the festival this year, we were actually obviously hoping for our partner CSIRO to be here in person. However, much like the BOP situation with our border closures, they are trapped in Queensland and New South Wales. But we've pivoted and found a new way for CSIRO to engage with us. So for those of you, and I'm sure most of you are very aware, CSIRO is our nation's leading science agency. So as Australia's national science agency, the CSIRO team is tasked to solve the greatest challenges through their innovative science and technology. They're thinkers, problem solvers, leaders, and as part of their work, they aim to inspire and grow the next generation to turn big ideas into disruptive solutions. As part of this work, innovating and creating, the CSIRO team have turned their attention to the ethics of innovation, posing the question, just because we can doesn't mean we should. So with the appointment of a head of responsible innovation, the agency is now looking at the ethical challenges that come with new and emerging technologies. So that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to the scientists on screen to tell us a little more.
Hi, my name's Marty and I'm a designer at CSIRO.
Hi, I'm Justine Lacey and I'm the Research Director for Responsible Innovation in CSIRO. I thrive in the science and technology sector to encourage researchers to consider more broadly the impacts of their science and technology. It ensures Australian innovation can be delivered to the world in a way that is socially acceptable, considerate and responsive.
So embracing responsible innovation principles can help you unpack and respond to the social, ethical, legal and environmental consequences of innovation.
Intertwined into the innovation process, responsible innovation encourages innovators to think more broadly about who might be impacted and engage with them to better address any concerns and undesirable consequences.
Responsible innovation is for the science and technology community, researchers, startups, teachers and students. When responsible innovation principles are applied, open discussion is generated, more ideas and thoughts are brought to the table, and a wider perspective of the impacts of innovation is illustrated.
Responsible innovation can start with simple team conversations which focus on stakeholders and the potential impact of the consequences of science and technology. Here are some ways you might start these conversations. For example, how can we engage stakeholders throughout the process to learn and evaluate how our innovation will impact them? What are the intended and unintended consequences of this innovation? And what values guide this innovation, including our own?
Here at CSIRO, we've taken a pragmatic approach to illustrate how responsible innovation is achievable. We've been working with young people to harness the curiosity, blue sky thinking, and social conscience of the generation who will help drive future science and technology. These inquiry minds have embedded responsible innovation through each stage of their innovation, mapping stakeholder impact, producing a consequence analysis, and guiding value sets that drive their innovation, all with open discussion and healthy debate at the heart of innovation.
Responsible innovation starts its life as this concept, and the concept is really about directing our attention toward the relationship between society and science and technology. And the reason we start looking in that really broad way is because we're trying to identify what does a socially responsible future look like if we're putting science and technology in the mix. And then what we start to do in CSIRO is say, well, how do we make that applied part of our science delivery? And so we start to build a new research program that's really looking at the most disruptive or new areas of science and technology development. So things like robotics and AI, things like synthetic biology, things that we expect to be potentially contentious, maybe disruptive, things that will change the way industries exist in our country, might create new industries, and then say, how do we start to assess risks and benefits and uncertainties of those areas of science and technology so that we can design what we consider to be responsible science and technology that benefits all Australians, but also that we can support different stakeholders and end users to say, well, I want to adopt this kind of responsible science or technology, and they know what it is and they know how to recognise it and they know what the benefits are of bringing it into their business or their life or whatever. But also communities are equipped to understand how some of these technologies could change their lives. And in some cases, they won't get to make the choice about what those changes might be, because it could be at the scale of energy system restructure, for example.
CSIRO Education and Outreach have been working with the Responsible Innovation Future Science platform to look at how responsible innovation principles can be applied. We found that students are the perfect candidates to look at how these can be applied because they have minimal preconceived ideas and barriers, and they can also offer their own expectations of the future. Students can draw on their creative and critical thinking. They are able to imagine the possibilities and connect ideas, consider alternatives, and innovate solutions. The skills they are forming in line with the Australian curriculum will shape them into responsible innovators of the future.